We didn't dream up a new way to find the best ramen. We never thought, you know what Mars needs? A dune buggy. We didn't decide you should be able to share your home with travelers from around the world. We're not the ones who imagined one day we'd all be streaming movies, or whatever she's about to do. But when asked if these ideas were possible, we're the only cloud with the capabilities, experience, and know-how to make them happen. AWS is how.
Hello and good morning, Munich. Welcome. It's a great pleasure to have you all here for the 2019 Transformation Day. If you have attended AWS events before, let me tell you that this is not a typical AWS event. So what we're going to do today is talk about technology as well, but the main focus will be that software changes so much that faster than the real world. And because of that, that means your organizations have to adopt to that change, and they are undergoing a huge transformation. So today, it is all about that. Like in the video that you just saw, we don't have the ideas. You guys have. But we are making them happen in a day-to-day life. Today, we have about 1,000 people in here in this room. So I want to thank you for that, and you're going to use the opportunity to network and share experience with your peers today. But we are not the only one who are making those journeys happen. Actually, our ecosystem, so all the partners do as well, and they are key strategic pillars for our business today. So let me thank you to all our partners and sponsors today. And it would not be possible to run an event like this today. So a big round of applause. So I would encourage you to use the opportunity today to have a look at the expo, to see the 23 partners that we have in the exhibition area. I think it's worthwhile. Also, you're very familiar with our other kind of free of charge events like the Awesome Days or the Dev Days, and as well our so-called signature events, which we call AWS Summits. This year, we had our Berlin Summit already in February, and we had about 10K people in attendance in that event. So those events are typically focused on tech enablement and readiness. And I'm proud to announce, because of the success of these kind of events, that we're going to export the summit format now to Switzerland. So I'm very happy that we're going to have our very first Swiss AWS Summit on 2nd of October. And for all of you which are here and you're Swiss, you're very welcome, and we are looking forward to host you on that event. And if you're asking yourself if you can go there even if you're not Swiss, yes, you can. As always, you can expect more breakout sessions that cover a wide range of topics from services towards architecture, operations, and performance management. But now, let's switch gears and let us have a look at how we are doing from a business perspective. In the last financials we released in Q1 2019, we announced that we are globally a $31 billion business, and we are growing at 41%. And what you have to think about when you're looking at this growth rate is that the relative percentage only matter when related to the absolute base that these percentages are applied to. Growing 41% from this huge baseline, so 31 billion, is actually pretty unusual in the industry that we are operating in. AWS continues to have a very significant leadership position in the market segment. And the latter is also confirmed by Gartner, probably a very well-known analyst. Let me have a look at that. So in the last so-called magic quadrant, we are recognized as being the leader in cloud infrastructure services. For their Magic Quadrant, Gartner assesses IT vendors across two key pillars: the ability to execute and the completeness of vision. And looking at those two metrics, Gartner sees AWS as the vendor in the leaders quadrant with the most complete vision and the highest ability to execute. A key indicator for our trust, or for your trust in our capabilities and also in our reliability of our platform, is when customers moving business and mission critical workloads in meaningful ways. And one key workload usually which comes into my mind, and probably yours as well, is typical ERP type of implementations. So we looked at SAP specifically. ISG, as well, a very well-known analyst firm, conducts a so-called ISG provider lens. And in this provider lens, they looked at SAP HANA deployments run on cloud infrastructure. So AWS here as well is being recognized for having a wide variety of HANA cloud offerings with the most attractive portfolio and the highest competitive strengths in the market. So you can see on this chart that AWS is being recognized as the overall category leader. Why? Because our ability to document thousands of SAP HANA deployments and AWS HANA deployments, then due to our breadth of depth of offerings, and 3, because we are the innovation leader. So just last year, we had thousands of features released. And we don't plan to stop here, obviously. We announced 48 terabyte SAP HANA deployments for availability later this year. This was actually an announcement that we did on the summit in February. This gives our customers even more choice for very complex SAP environments, and our customers can achieve faster time to value. Provision infrastructure in hours or days versus weeks and months before. Now, we talked about trust in our platform, also shown by the sizable numbers of customers running on AWS. Let's have a more broad look at our customer base. We are very happy to say that AWS in Germany is a large and rapidly growing business. We are seeing exciting growth and adoptions across all customer segments, so from startup to enterprise, across all industries, so from manufacturing, automotive, retail, financial services, insurances, and this list goes on, and across every imaginable workload that you can think of. We still have the broadest and deepest cloud platform, and for today's builders, with more than 165 services being available today. Here's just a little snapshot of the tens of thousands of customers in Germany, and which are using AWS today. And we are specifically proud that we actually can say that a number of DAX 30 companies are using AWS in a meaningful way. To be more precise, did you know that more than 80% of the DAX 30 companies are using AWS? I think that's actually pretty impressive because the most biggest companies in Germany have the trust in AWS and our platform. Some of them, like Siemens, Deutsche Börse, or Volkswagen, are here with us today and will talk about their experiences with AWS. So you can learn from their experiences and apply them hopefully as well in your respective projects. Siemens will talk about how they used AWS Cloud as infrastructure to build an outstanding serverless solution for their solar energy division. Deutsche Börse will talk about how they use spot instances to test their trading system. And we will have Roy Sauer from Volkswagen joining us on this keynote stage later to talk about how they have approached the cloud from an organizational perspective in Volkswagen. All this could not be done without having partners helping you as our customers doing these kind of adoption journeys. So let's look on how our partner business is doing as well. Our partner community has always been very strategic to us. I touched on that point earlier on, because we know how important it is for you, our customers, to use your partner of choice which you trust. At AWS, we have the broadest ecosystems of system integrators that build practices around AWS. And we have thousands of technology partners and SaaS providers that as well run on AWS. So just to pick a few examples of projects that our partners did with customers. For instance, Rackspace helped Opel migrate their online car configurator, a major sales tool for Opel. Or Dinis, a company that produces industrial slitting systems, worked with Opitz Consulting to launch a predictive maintenance product that will tell customers the optimal time for changing the knife. Lorenz is a software provider for medical truck approval. Direktgruppe helped them to run this very comprehensive and complex project, as you can think of this being very specific due to compliance and other regulations being in place. Our partner Accenture managed the migration of a number of Eon's SAP business warehouse on HANA landscapes to AWS with a data transfer done in 48 hours. Just think about that. In other environments, it would take you weeks and months. We just touched on SAP. So how many of you use SAP? Show hands. Oh, it's actually an impressive number. Thanks for that. Well, we are well aware that these are important systems for you and your businesses. That's why we transformed the development lifecycle of SAP HANA away from a classic on-prem model to a cloud-first model. The next generation for SAP HANA as a service offering addresses the needs of SAP teams delivering new applications, services, and microservices to our 450K customer base. I'm happy that our customer delivery hero will talk in a session today about their SAP migration and their experience when they migrated to AWS. Listen to it at 4 p.m. in Hall 4. And we have continued to listen to you, so we perfectly understand that this is hard to get started sometimes. So last year we launched a publication with Vogel IT Media and got great feedback, so we decided to do it again this year. Just yesterday, we launched a new publication of the AWS Channel Guide, and this is a dedicated issue of IT Business Magazine, which was created in cooperation with us. And so if you're looking for a partner to start your AWS journey, but you're not sure how to really get started, the AWS Channel Guide can help you with that. It is designed to make it easier for you to identify the right partner and to connect with that partner. And it's available in print, but as well online. So the printed version you will find outside in the expo hall. As I mentioned before, getting started is one of the key challenges that you guys told us. And let me touch on a few other elements which we hear from you as our customers, which stops you from adopting cloud faster. One element which comes up pretty consistently, that there is the perception that cloud is less safe and less secure and potentially not even compliant with GDPR. So just last week, KPMG released a so-called Cloud Monitor 2019, which has some interesting numbers around that. On one hand, 54% of cloud users see an increase in security. On the other hand, the majority of customers tell us that it's still the biggest inhibitor to adopt cloud. At AWS, we maintain security as our highest priority, and it's really our job zero. And we have obtained a number of industry certifications. Think about ISO, think about SOC, think about PCI, and as well C5, which is a very local government-backed attestation that AWS Cloud is secure. And in March 2018, we certified that all our services are GDPR compliant. And we have also teams of compliance and data protection and security experts, which are working 24/7 across the globe to ensure that we are operating on highest security standards. Just think of your own business. Would you be able to do the same? Probably less so. And one more aspect is how companies start their transformation journey. And this not only includes technology, but also organizational and cultural aspect. And we understand this is as well not that easy. So what you told us, that you not only benefited from our technology, but also from the things that you as customers learn from us by, or traveling that journey towards the cloud. And you learn from us because we are as well in a very fast-paced and rapidly changing environment too. So we have developed mechanisms and ideas around how to overcome these challenges of a transformation, and we want to share these with you today. We have more than 20 sessions prepared for you where you can learn some of these mechanisms. For instance, the working backwards concept with the Nasdaq-listed Trivago, a German-based travel and logistics company, has been quoting on this slide. And we have a working backwards workshop here for you today. You can join us at 3:30 in Hall 5 if you want to learn more around that. And then the last element, to overcome hesitance to adopt new technology, technology that you're not exposed to, that you have not been used to before, is actually tech gamification. So providing an environment and the tools to actually experiment and learn in a funny and entertaining way. And so we came up with AWS Deep Racer, which was announced at last reInvent, which is the fastest way on how you can get into machine learning. Developers can get hands-on with a fully autonomous 1/18th scale race car driven by reinforcement learning, 3D racing simulator, and a global racing league. So how did we come up with this product innovation? We used a mechanism that you might have heard of. We worked backwards from the customer. So we asked ourselves, what do developers want and how we can put machine learning in the hands of customers to help them build new machine learning skills in a fun and exciting way. And the best way to learn is actually to try something yourself, so hands-on. So our teams came up with AWS Deep Racer. So how does it work? AWS Deep Racer has a virtual racing simulator that allows you to train, evaluate, and iterate on your machine learning models in a racing environment quickly and easily. And if you get really good and you want to showcase your machine learning skills in a competitive environment, there's the AWS Deep Racer League. You can compete in the global championships, race new Deep Racer model for a chance to win several prizes and advance to the Deep Racer Championships Cup, which is being run on reInvent this year in November. So if you're interested to learn more, please talk to us. You find a number of AWS folks out there on the AWS booth. Now, I'm super happy to have her here with us. She was actually one of you, being the CIO of Coca-Cola. And now she joined AWS. Please welcome Miriam McLemore, AWS strategist. Hi, Miriam.
Hi, good morning. Thank you. Thank you, Klaus, and good morning. I'm excited to have the opportunity to be here with you today and talk about transformation. Our topic is enabling transformation through agility and innovation. And so we have a couple of customers, as Klaus mentioned, that will speak to you about their journey. I'll share a little bit about the journey we went on at the Coca-Cola Company, and then also talk to you about what I've learned in the 2 years I've been with AWS, working with customers around the world. So as Klaus said, I was the corporate CIO for the Coca-Cola Company. I was actually with Coke for 26 years, so a very long time. I joined Coke in finance. I moved into the marketing organization. Then I moved into the North America business and spent the last dozen years of my career in IT. I was responsible for front office technology, all 600 brand websites around the world, everything mobile, and also back office technologies. So many of the challenges that you have faced, I had the opportunity to face at Coca-Cola. Coke being a company that's over 130 years old, operates in 209 countries, grouped into about 32 major markets, faced about every challenge that I have heard from other customers as I've worked with them around the world. And that starts with, what does it mean to transform digitally? Everyone is talking about it. Enterprises feel the pressure to begin moving, but there are very few still that have a scalable strategy that they feel like is working. And so that is our challenge and opportunity to work together to address what does it mean to transform for you. Some of the trends that we're seeing as we talk to customers are good, right? Moving from where we were with, failure's not an option, all the silos, tossing projects over the wall, all the things we talked about over the last 30 years, and moving toward much more agile teams, smaller teams, with more autonomy and ability to drive decisions, being able to adopt new technologies quickly. So some of this is absolutely making a difference, but it's just not enough. It is progress, but mainly within IT progress. And what we want to do is drive transformation for the business at large. And the goal, I believe, in talking to customers is business agility. Peter Weil at MIT defines agility as this. It is the organization's ability to respond, decide, embrace change, and execute quickly. And all of those different pieces have their own challenges. The time to execute, as we all know, is shrinking. With the speed of startups and some of the companies that were mentioned in the video at the beginning of the day, you have to be faster to market. And so it's no longer a choice or an opportunity, it's absolutely mandatory. And so you're trying to create a company that thinks agile, acts agile, and is agile. At Amazon, that is something that we are fortunate our CEO embraces, and he embraces it in terms of understanding the importance of invention, and that invention has this twin called failure. If you are going to truly invent, then you have to be willing to suffer some failure along the way. And that can be very challenging for large enterprises to accept and have the willingness to fail. Certainly it was something that we struggled with at the Coca-Cola Company. And it took a while to get the culture where it could truly invent and experiment. Because change is hard, right? You have established processes, you have cultural resistance, and you have existing infrastructure. All are dragging you back to the status quo. And that is one of the biggest challenges that you face. So what I want to talk to you about today is some ideas on leading your organization through a transformation that are hopefully helpful to you. At Amazon, we sit down and think about, okay, so our customers are trying to create this environment. What can we do to help? And I'll share a few of those things that I think would have been helpful if I had used them at the Coca-Cola Company, for sure. But one customer, I had the great opportunity to be the executive sponsor of the McDonald's Corporation, and that makes some sense coming from Coca-Cola. So I get to go to Chicago a lot and meet with the team at McDonald's. And they are transforming, and like Coke, have to transform at scale. And I'm sure that's a challenge that many of you face, because it's one thing to leverage a capability in a small pocket of your business, but it is entirely different to scale that globally. And certainly was one of the things that we were challenged with at Coke. So McDonald's has been able to put together this capability of McDelivery that enables them to serve customers on a mobile app in their restaurants. And McDonald's has 69 million customers each day across 36,000 restaurants with 6,000 menu items. So it is a significant endeavor to create a capability that works for the McDonald's system. So, some ideas of things that I think might help you in your transformation journey. One, I think it requires a change in mindset and approach. It requires communicating your vision. IT typically is not very good at communicating and marketing the value that we create. And then it takes consistent change management. Change is very hard to continue. You can get started and have a blip, but to make it sustained and make it actually the way you now do business can take years. So change management is important. So what do I mean by a change in mindset and approach? 3 aspects to that I think are the key aspects. One, you've got to move into a leadership model and out of a management model. You need to organize around outcomes versus projects, and you need to focus on maximizing the technology to drive business value. So let me dive into each of those just briefly. So what do I mean when I say management versus leadership? Management is the thing we've been doing forever as we came up through the ranks, right? You got really good at planning and budgeting, organizing, staffing, controlling, and problem solving. And that created order, which is great and has its purpose. But when you're trying to drive transformation, you need to lead. And leading is playing offense. It is establishing direction. It is aligning people. And it is motivating your organization, especially if you're going to break down into smaller teams and give away some decision rights. You need strong leadership to enable that. And change agents play offense. They lead. The people that want the status quo play defense. They manage. So moving to leadership, I think, is critical. The second aspect of a change in mindset and approach is organizing around business outcomes. Our historical waterfall methodology, we organized around projects, then threw it over the wall to other teams to take on as if the project was going away. And the reality is we were creating products that have pretty long lives and really need to move and recognize that and have a product mindset and get out of the project management mindset. Where you have, in a product mindset, you have continuous delivery. The customer defines the roadmap. It is measured by output and outcome. And I think ultimately, if you can move into a business objective-driven development, that's even better, where you are trying to maximize a strategic KPI. Things like minimizing waste, increasing conversion rates, and you measure based on outcomes and business value created. I think this move away from projects toward product and business outcome is the second important aspect of a change in mindset. At Amazon, it is how we work. we start 90 to 95% of our roadmap starts with a customer value statement, and we write that in the form of a press release. And what that means is if we work with a customer and the customer has something that we can help them deliver, we write it up in a narrative form as if that new capability had just been delivered to the market. That would have been a wonderful thing to have done in my career at Coca-Cola, because business requirements, documents, and all the technical jargon that we put down in order to design a capability, the business never reads. And so you wind up with mismatched solutions based on expectations. What this press release process does for us at Amazon is aligns everyone around what is the ultimate thing that's going to be delivered. Because right after we finish the press release, we write and answer the frequently asked questions that we think the partners, the key stakeholders, the suppliers would have about this new capability. And these are documents that your business partners would be very willing to go through because they're in common language, business terms, not in deep technical terms. Then we do, of course, write the user manual so you get a sense of, okay, how would this exactly work? That is where we begin with the customer challenge, and we work backwards from that. And there's a couple of workshops if you want to learn more about that process. The Digital Innovation Workshop this afternoon is very helpful. The next aspect that I mentioned in changing your mindset is moving from having an IT strategy that is separate from the business strategy. You have to bring those together and have a strategy that talks about the business value that is enabled by technology. Your business partners are looking for that from IT, and you've got to go find a seat at the table to deliver that on here's what technology can do for you, whether it's AI, ML, IoT, whatever it is that's most relevant to your business. Focus on an aligned strategy where technology is the supporting and enabling capability. So, you've heard from me for a little bit. Now I'd love you to have the opportunity to hear from Volkswagen. Amazon Web Services is working with Volkswagen in developing Volkswagen's industrial cloud. And we have signed a multi-year global agreement to jointly develop this project. And I have the pleasure of having Dr. Roy Sauer here today to join me on stage to share with you a little bit more about this program. Roy?
Hi, good morning. Morning, Miriam.
Thank you.
Yeah, good morning, everybody. Great to be here, and great to give you a short glimpse of a transformation case at Volkswagen. So before we start to have a look in this transformation case, some facts and figures about Volkswagen. Volkswagen, at a glance, exists out of 12 different brands and delivers 11 million vehicles per year with 660,000 people in 120 plants around the world. And with more than 120,000 suppliers on all levels of our supply chain. Today, every machine builder comes with integrated software, and it comes very often also with IoT platforms, which means this increases costs for integration, cost for maintenance, and increases also the complexity for Volkswagen. We have about 500 different IoT platforms on the market, and nobody knows which of this IoT platform will survive or which of this will be a leading IoT platform. That's the reason why we came up and created an own vision for an IoT platform. And we actually want to deliver an IoT platform to reduce our factory costs by 30% over the next years. We also want to improve the IT standards between the factories. Right now we have in this 120 factories different IT landscapes. And more important, we want to achieve scalability. Many of our solutions or applications are just used in 1, 2, 3 plants, on average actually between 1 to 2 plants. But we want to achieve scalability that our solutions can be used in all of these 120 plants. We also want to leverage all the data of our own factories as well as data of our suppliers. And we want to implement use cases, IoT use cases, not only in Volkswagen, but also for our suppliers and our supply chain. When we had this idea, we said this will be our Volkswagen operation system for our plant and factories. And we said this needs to be a cloud-based platform. We need the capabilities of data analytics and artificial intelligence. We need the capabilities of IoT. We need capabilities also for IT security, very important also for the shop floor. And we created this idea of this IoT platform, but not to create the 501 IoT platform only for Volkswagen. No, our idea is to develop an open platform for the automotive industry, to become and set a standard for the automotive industry. And I'm totally convinced that only platforms which are open will be the platforms which will survive and open with open technology, but also open for collaboration. That's the reason why we created the idea of the Volkswagen Industrial Cloud, and not only for Volkswagen, but also for our supply chain and for other partners. So please, if you are interested, join this initiative of this Volkswagen Industrial Cloud. It's made for partners. When we decided this a year ago, we immediately knew we need a leading technology partner for this. We need a technology partner with innovations. And we choose AWS as our partner to build up this industrial IoT platform together, because AWS can deliver the scalability we need for our plants and our supply chain. AWS can deliver the technical services and standards, and more important, the innovation and implementation speed. And also, for us, also important, a different kind of working culture, which we really want to adopt also at Volkswagen. Together, we built a strategic partnership. This is a long-term partnership. We decided to put resources into it. Both partners put resources in this cooperation. We created joint teams. We established a joint development center in Berlin. We also use joint approaches based on the AWS approaches. I come later to that. Of course, to innovate, to speed up, and also to use agile way of working. And we also agreed that we have a joint approach to get more and more partners on this platform. Why is this such a great combination between Volkswagen and AWS? Because for an automotive IoT platform, you need the knowledge about the shop floor, you need the knowledge about the production, you need the knowledge about the supply chain. Volkswagen is a leading automotive company. We have this expertise over years. We have this big supplier network with more than 120,000 suppliers. And we know what you need to operate 120 plants around the world. AWS is leading technology provider, is leading in the cloud business, is leading in artificial intelligence business. And this both together brings a perfect combination. But when we decided this, we also said you need to have this ideal combination of automotive and cloud technology, but really to dive into the shop floor, we also said we need a partner for the shop floor automation and edge devices. And so we decided also to take Siemens on board. Siemens is also partner of the Volkswagen Industrial Cloud. And together with these three partners, I'm pretty sure we can really change the world for IoT platforms and create this automotive IoT platform. When we choose AWS, we not only choose the technology, we also choose the way of working and the culture. Volkswagen is changing dramatically from an automotive company to a software-driven company. We are changing our approach with our cars to electrical cars. We are changing our software basis within our cars, and we are changing our software in our plants. And we are actually aware that we have to change our culture as well in order to move to a software company. So we started for the industrial cloud to create a joint development center in Berlin, where we still recruit people, platform engineers. We worked out such a cooperated working model with AWS. We have joint teams, 50% AWS people, 50% Volkswagen people working together. And we completely use the approaches of AWS. So small pizza teams, agile working, really bring the decision onto to the teams, less overhead. And it's quite difficult for Volkswagen to work in that environment. We all always have the ambition to have the steering committees and overhead, but we really try hard to reduce it. We are also working with a working backwards model, and we are also working with a narrative. And that's a quite interesting experience. We wrote the 6-page narrative for this program together with AWS, and we use it now in each of our executive meetings about this industrial platform. And actually, this is first time that I saw at Volkswagen top management in a meeting, 30 minutes of reading, still work reading the 6-page narratives, rather than to, as you probably are also used, diving into PowerPoint presentations, starting discussions. No, that's different. We are really working different now with the narratives. It also works out that you start with junior people to discuss this narrative, not with the senior people, in order to have this hierarchical decisions. And it's quite interesting. And I'm really looking forward to be part of this transformation of Volkswagen together with AWS and be on my own part and change my own way of working as well. So it's really amazing what we have achieved so far. We just announced 3 months ago this partnership with AWS and Siemens. And right now we have already established a development center in Berlin. We have also created this joint working model. We have the first pizza teams working. They actually ship already software. We have started with 2 use cases. One use case in Poland, in Polkowice, an OEE calculation to improve the maintenance processes there, and a second use case in Wolfsburg in the press shop to improve with data analytics and algorithms the press parameters to optimize the press. And we are actually really developing and shipping software and the IoT platform, the Volkswagen Industrial Cloud platform, is growing. So again, if you are interested in this initiative and you are willing to join the Volkswagen Industrial Cloud, please feel free. Just contact me, and we will see how you can join this initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Great,
that was
thank you.
wonderful.
Thank you. Bye.
That was a terrific story, and thank you to Roy for sharing what they're doing at Volkswagen with AWS. Now I want to continue and talk to you about the second thing that I think might be helpful in beginning that transformation journey or improving the speed of your transformation, and that's getting very good at communicating your vision. You heard Roy explain how they're leveraging narratives to keep the senior leadership involved. It is absolutely imperative that you are clear on your purpose, that you build the right alliances, and that you secure some C-suite executive sponsor to go down this journey with you. And so what do I mean by clarity purpose? It's answering the 5 whys. Where are you going? Why? What's your elevator statement? And making sure that your vision is actually appealing to your audience so they get it, they can repeat it. You have to be clear on how you're going to get there and how you're going to create and then sustain momentum. IT, as I said earlier, is typically not good at marketing what we're doing. We have great ideas, but you got to put together a marketing campaign and market what you're trying to create for the company. You also need some peer alliances. And I would say to you, and it says here on this slide, move the movable. Pick people that are going to go with you, that you can work with. Picking the person that is the barrier, just keep moving, move the movable. I do think, especially at the beginning, it's important to control the dialogue so you get consistent messaging out there. And I went back and forth, do you say control? But you do need to be very crisp about the dialogue, about what you're trying to accomplish, and define what's in it for every stakeholder. When I was putting together strategies, it was a different message to the finance team, then to the HR team, then to the legal team, then to the marketing team. They're just going to digest the information differently. And then finally, you need an executive sponsor. When I got started, I had the chief marketing officer of the Coca-Cola company as my executive sponsor, which was great because you could imagine that's a person with pretty good power at Coke, and he was willing to get on stage and talk about what we were doing together to transform, and that was key because he could amplify the message in that way. He could also remove some of the obstacles. He could talk to his peers in the operating committee. He could signal the intent that marketing's in, marketing's going down this journey. He could also help with escalation when we get stuck. He could help with delegation of authority so we could move quickly, and that networking. And so that's my second aspect. My third aspect that I mentioned to you is change management. To really get the change to stick, you got to think about change management. And I know that's something we've heard all of our careers, but it is important. Because if you don't get the culture to change, you will go back to where you started. And so the aspects of change management, dealing with resistance head on. talking about and getting clear on security and compliance. Klaus talked about that being job zero. And it is for AWS, and it certainly, I imagine, is for you as well. Managing inputs and considering a partner that might often, I found at Coke, our partners got audience and stage time when we couldn't internally get that same time. So leveraging partners can be important. So what is resistance? We talk about resistance being the fear, uncertainty, and doubt, FUD, on one side, and a true concern on the other. You need to differentiate those two so you know what you're dealing with. On the fear, uncertainty, and doubt, it's a little softer, it's a little harder to address, but you need to communicate, you need to educate, need to clarify the implications to the various business areas, or you need to overrule them. You gotta do something. Just ignoring it's not ideal. On the concern side, if there's a valid concern, you need to do analysis, you need to research, you need to offer a solution, or accept risk. And this is where your executive sponsor comes in very handy in the overrule and accept risk bucket. Next, security and compliance. Absolutely critical. Klaus spoke to it. It is a foundational principle, and you won't get past the board if you can't answer security and compliance questions. You need to automate as much as you can. You need to map and translate the security requirements into something an audit committee could actually understand and digest, not deep technical jargon that doesn't make them feel more secure. You need to challenge assumptions. We would talk about at Coca-Cola, it being the secret formula culture. Therefore, need to know. Keep my stuff to myself. And you have to challenge some of those assumptions so that we could actually share data in our case. Offering mitigating controls is obviously a big piece as well. At Amazon, we manage inputs, not just the outputs. We think about, okay, so this project wasn't as successful as we wanted it to be. Let's go back and think about the inputs. Did we hire a great team? Did the team have thoughtful and robust ideas? Did we think the idea all the way through? That's why this narrative and writing process that we have. Did we execute in a timely fashion? Was that the problem? It took too long. Was quality high? And was the tech actually innovative? Thinking through your inputs, because sometimes we're amazed that something didn't work, and you go back and look at the team you put on it and the culture that team had and the decision rights that team had, and it's pretty obvious why you were not as successful as you wanted to be. We also, of course, leverage our platform, and that creates consistency, and having a microservices architecture and approach is absolutely key to being agile. And as I said, think about a partner, whether you need help with strategy, maybe business case development or executive alignment. McKinsey was often in Coca-Cola helping with the strategy end. Or it's security and compliance, bringing in a company that can validate your approach to security can be helpful. Or org change and this change management. Maybe that's not what your best skill is in IT. Can you bring in a partner to help? And we have, as many of you know, a huge array of partners that can work with you in addition to our team. So those are my 3 suggestions for you as you're going down this transformation journey. You're probably doing many of these, but I think sometimes it's helpful to package it up and think about what you've done, what you are doing, Am I missing something? Because it requires all of them to actually make the progress that you want to make and drive sustainable change and create an agile organization. So now I have another customer to come and speak to you. We have Yuriy from Zalando, who's going to talk about the partnership with AWS, a much different company than Volkswagen and Coca-Cola, a much older company. Zalando is a younger company and is really driving innovation. And so I want to welcome to the stage Yuriy Volosenko. Thank you, Yuriy.
Hello, Miriam. Hello. Grüß Gott, München. Few weeks ago, I was approached by our partners from AWS, and I was asked, Yuriy, you have one of the most complicated and biggest SAP and overall AWS footprints in Germany. You have very innovative SAP landscape, you have very innovative enterprise applications landscape. You manage to scale your system almost fully automatically from 5,000 servers in normal busy day to over 30,000 servers in special sales events like Black Friday, for example, and scale it back. Probably you can join our Transformation Day and share your some experience in 10-minute slots. I thought, okay, it sounds like a challenge, I'm in. So today, I'm really thrilled and excited to be here and give you some ideas and some impressions about how do we run enterprise applications with help of SAP in combination with AWS. I hope I have few customers of Zalando here in audience. Nevertheless, allow me please to give you a short overview about who we are and what we are doing. We position ourselves as a technology company doing retail, building marketplace, and we desire to be the starting point for fashion. As you can see, our business is doing well, and to support our further development, it's extremely important to have reliable technological partner. To give you some ideas what kind of data we are talking about, we have more than 5.4 billion revenue. We have more than 300 million of site visits per month, and you have to manage this kind of data. You have to provide this in a very fast and agile way, and this is how we use AWS, for example, as well. We have more than 16,000 employees, and being truly digital natives, I really believe we have more than half of these people able to deploy Docker images in Kubernetes clusters in fully automated way. This is the way how we work. So we have really deep technical expertise. And the half of our life cycle, Zalando is 11 years old, the half of this time we are fully integrated with AWS, and we use this infrastructure to support and to address our business needs. This is like small snapshot of our enterprise applications, and they are fully integrated in AWS. Without being very technical, it's because it's like 2 million digit invest, which we are talking here about. We have several SAP landscapes, which we manage, which we integrate. We send more than 150,000 payment reminders per day. We have more than 6 million invoices, which we are sending to our B2C customers. We have more than 1 million incoming invoices from our B2B business, which we have to process. So we address all these kind of business capabilities to this. We are talking about more than 25 terabytes of RAM to address our HANA needs. And if you pay close attention to this right side, we have this like Redshift integration to HANA platform. So we have some innovative and unique approaches how to address really big data challenges, how to manage more than 4,000 systems in a fully automated way. The real value of bringing your enterprise applications to hyperscalers like AWS, for example, is not just to have a big box and put your big box in AWS and place your SAP workloads here. It's about to understand what kind of other tools and services you can combine in a very meaningful way with your enterprise applications. We started our journey with AWS in context of enterprise applications back in 2006. 16, I apologize. We started with only 4 services. It was like compute service, storage service. Today we are talking about more than 36 services which are fully integrated in enterprise applications, like SAP, for example, like process mining tools for Celonis, for example. So we store the data, we combine the data, we operate the data, and these services, they help us to access this data, to store this data, and enable us to serve our business and to serve our customers in the best way. For example, to address sizing problem in the online fashion, it's like top challenge which we have. And with help of some machine learning service, data science services which you have out of the box in AWS, you can apply these machine learning services to your data which you have available in your ecosystem, and you can support your customers by providing good sizing recommendations. So this is like indeed the biggest value which we achieved over the last 4 years, to integrate all these services in a very meaningful way in our enterprise application footprints. I was asked, okay, can you explain why and how you are running these enterprise applications? And we agreed that, okay, how? It's like so interesting and so different from typical way how you manage your enterprise applications in the way how you do it in AWS. So we agreed only on why, not on how. And why, you can split in general in 3 buckets, like business value, technology value, and project values. From business point of view, I think it's like low-brainer, because you can reduce your total cost of ownership. I think it's like very easy to understand why it's so, because you just use this purchase power of AWS, and going with 3 years instances, reserved instances, you can reduce your spend on hardware cost dramatically. So this is what we did as well. But also if you think about, okay, should I invest in managing my infrastructure, like operating system, databases, network topics, provision this kind of system. So we decided, okay, it's not our core capability, and we will rather focus on understanding how to use these tools and apply this to address some of our core business needs. And in this particular case, we reduce our technical maintenance tasks to more than 30% as well. And by focusing our business on really our unique selling points from Zalando point of view to our customers, we are very focused on our business transformation. We are very focused on what help us to define our and to execute against our strategic goals, and to push this like maintenance work to people or to companies really able to do it in a much better way than we can. For example, AWS. Technology wins. And believe me or not, but this is the biggest value I see by placing your enterprise applications in AWS. And it's not that easy to explain, okay, because of this, and these reasons, it makes sense to bring these workloads into AWS. But just to recap this once again, today we use more than 36 services coming from AWS in combination with SAP, for example. The way how we run SAP in AWS is completely different. 4 years ago, it was extremely difficult for us to find a partner who can support us by migration. So we are one of the first customers who brought significant SAP workloads in AWS, and we are really proud to teach other partners how can you place your SAP workloads, how can you be very efficient, and this was like revolution for us. So today, we are really scalable. We are much faster than we did it before. And for example, we see that more and more, the bigger and bigger instances coming live into AWS. But we also see some really unique opportunities. Should I place 48 terabytes of data in RAM to address my data challenges in analytical workloads? So we decided to go for really innovative approaches. For example, we have HANA instance, and for warm layer, we use Redshift instance. So we address up to 100 terabytes of data challenges, which we have in our company, to Redshift or to Elastic MapReduce. So we combine these services together with SAP, and we can run really hybrid data architectures in our footprints as well. And by doing that, we reduce the total cost of ownership as well. Some project wins. Now we are like fully automated in provisioning our systems, and this is like a truly acceleration in the project. Probably some of you, you are in the middle of doing this transformation from classical ERP to S4, for example. In our case, we did like sandbox provisioning very fast. And for example, if you want to do data migration project step, you just create a sandbox in less than 2 hours. You give it to the project team. They do data migration. They see the result. They kill this instance, instance box, and they move forward with the project. By doing that, it's like really fast and agile way to operate in the project. So I would like to thank you, AWS, for providing these very interesting and innovative services for us. I will be here. If you have some other further questions you want to discuss more in deep, please reach out. Thank you very much.
Yuriy, thank you.
You're very welcome.
That was great.
Yeah.
Another great example of transformation and amazing use of technology. Now I want to share a little bit with you the story of transformation, at least where we began at the Coca-Cola Company. I mentioned to you earlier that I had responsibility for everything consumer-facing for the company, so all 600 marketing brand websites, and then the big properties like the Olympics and the World Cup and the Super Bowl. So when we would do promotional events, my team ran the technology for those events. And so we had, back in 2013, what we thought was a cool promotional event going. It was a mobile game where you could pick the ending of a race, and so you got to choose as a consumer. So we had worked with marketing to develop this capability, and we had taken what marketing estimated for the consumer uptake on this event and 10x'd it to make sure, this is the Super Bowl after all, and there's a costly media with Super Bowl spots, so we wanted to make sure that we would not have an issue with capacity. Well, I don't know if you would recall, but that was the year that the Super Bowl was played in the Superdome, and there was a full power outage in the Superdome. The lights went out, the game could not be played, and unfortunately, people now didn't have a game to watch at home or in the Coliseum, and so more people than anticipated decided to get on our app, and we did not scale, which is a bad thing on a Sunday for the Super Bowl if you're the leader for marketing technology, which is my role. So going into work on Monday morning, I sat down with our chief marketing officer as we had been talking about the issue and said, we're done. We're done guessing. We're done buying capacity we don't use. We're done. We're going to cloud. And he goes, if that'll solve it, do it. So that is where we began, is with our digital properties, because we needed to transform for agility, for speed, and for innovation. Prior to moving to cloud, I was sequencing what the markets around the world could do based on the availability of my team and the capacity that we had to support them. And so getting to a place where we had the agility we needed for the markets to run promotions they wanted to do in market was key. Now, internal to IT, we needed to get ourselves cleaned up. And so we needed to streamline our application portfolio, and we went through a full assessment using the Gartner 6 Rs and looked at our full portfolio, because we were running 1,500 major applications to run the Coca-Cola Company, and that's too many. So we made a promise to the board and a commitment to bring that application portfolio down to under 1,000. And that was our North Star that we were aiming at. We also had skill gaps. We didn't have cloud people. This is back in 2013 and 2014. And it was a challenge to go get cloud skills. And so we actually brought in a partner. And what we did was unique. Instead of having the partner do all the cool new cloud stuff, we actually had the partner, and we used Second Watch, run the day-to-day so that we could upskill and train our associates to move into the future. So we had selected key technology partners. We picked all up the websites and moved to AWS. That was a great learning experience for us and an easier place to start because our digital properties were not tied to our legacy applications. So the difficulty of unwinding those legacy apps isn't what we had to face right off, and we got some good training in cloud. We also had the opportunity to leverage the security posture of AWS. Coke is a big brand name, and so often hacked so that people could get their cause on the front lines of a newspaper or site. And so having that consistent security posture for all of our brand sites globally was important to us. But we created something we called for the markets, freedom within a framework, and that was part of our vision and selling strategy to the markets. I said you have to communicate your vision. Freedom within a framework was a big piece of our vision for the marketing team. And what it means is you're going to need to do these certain things, like the site's going to be hosted and run at AWS. We have a login and registration service that you're going to call and not rewrite. There were a couple other things that were the framework components, but we said then beyond that, you are free to invent and create new experiences for our consumers. And so that, from an IT standpoint, was based on microservices architecture, but our marketers globally didn't need to know that part. They just needed to know what they were empowered to do. And could they move quickly, and did they have to get in line anymore and ask IT when you'd have capacity for us? That was gone. And so that was another big piece of communicating our vision and providing cost transparency. What we were doing previous to cloud was taking the cost of infrastructure, dividing it by sales data, and allocating it out to the market. So no one was ever happy. Because Japan and the US are highly profitable, those got a larger share of the cost. And they're saying, well, I didn't necessarily drive that cost. I said, well, that's the only way we had to allocate the cost. Now with cloud, we had cost transparency, and the markets could see what they were doing and make decisions on what they were doing. But obviously, there were obstacles. This was not easy. That all sounds, just pick up 600 websites, move it over to AWS, and off you go to the races. That's not exactly how it ever goes. We had markets all over the world working with agencies who, many of them came from the agency and took a job at Coke. And so they sourced work back to the agency from whence they came. And so we had these agencies saying, oh, no, they're not right. Don't listen to those corporate IT people. We know your business locally. We know what to do. And so we had to address those challenges because there was a lack of trust in global IT in the local markets. And I don't know, maybe some of you faced that. But from a global IT standpoint, we had technology integrators who were not building the right type of code to run the Coca-Cola company experiences on. They were leaving back doors. We were getting hacked. There was all sorts of challenges. And so we needed to address these obstacles, but we had to do it at speed. Our traditional IT governance was too slow. And so I actually picked up my consumer team and moved it out of the traditional IT path, and we've got different rules applied to that team, which was great because when the World Cup's happening, the experience actually has to hit the market at the same time as the World Cup. You couldn't be like a month late and actually miss the opening match. That's not a good experience. And so what we did to address the obstacles In working with the agencies, we created an onboarding process and explained to them what our framework was and the freedom that they had to invent. So we actually took regionally the agencies through that. That was very helpful. We also down-selected regional technology partners to ones that we could certify and say, these guys are good for your local market, go at it. We weren't trying to give them global corporate ones, but we needed technology integrators that understood our tech stack. We drove a microservices architecture for, particularly at first, for web and mobile development to enable some of those things like a standard call for login and registration so that we could protect PII data. And then we also built out with Adobe a common content management platform. Coke spends $1 billion in content creation annually, and so any reuse you could get in that content and repurpose gave you an ROI. So, whoops. That is how we address the obstacles. What we came out with was digital being the poster child for agility. The digital team, the partnership between marketing and IT was very strong. And I then had finance coming to me saying, so how do I get what marketing got? I had HR coming to me. I want, and we want as a function, to be more agile. So HR as an example, we went through a program and we were in an SAP on-prem HR system and selected Workday. And I moved the 18,000 active associates of the Coca-Cola company to Workday, which is obviously SaaS, runs on AWS, and puts HR data, importantly, in the cloud. And so that was an education for our senior leadership on our cloud journey, because it was one thing to have the digital properties in the cloud, but very different thing to have HR data in the cloud. And so that was another piece of our journey, was to get our senior leadership comfortable with data in the cloud. And we were fairly early, going in 2014, 2015. And after we did the mobile properties, we moved into data analytics, and I used to run business intelligence for Coke out of the marketing organization. So that ability to leverage data for the various functions was absolutely key. And one example of that, we had the Freestyle vending machine. I don't know if y'all have experienced it, but it's a machine that allows you to mix product. And all of those machines phone home every night and give us data. And so that data analytics we ran in Redshift, and what I could do is it gave me operational statistics on the machine, so I would know if the machine is functioning, if it's a cooling product, if there's any issues to the machine function. Then it gave us cartridge usage and what product was going to be out of stock, and we could dynamically order cartridges and send them to the customers. And then it gave us product purchase and day part of product purchase, which is important to a CPG, consumer products company. And so that is the type of analytics that we were able to get from our partnership with AWS. We ultimately closed and sold the North America data center. As of now, Coke is completely out of the data center business, all cloud, which is a great accomplishment, and it started with this journey. But I always want to come back to security. You might think, hey, Coke's not a financial institution, but the company reputation and the brand are absolutely critical to Coca-Cola, and therefore security is job zero for Coca-Cola as well. And the AWS security posture gave our senior leadership the comfort that we needed to continue our cloud journey, especially when you operate across the breadth of countries that Coca-Cola operates in. When people ask me kind of what was the thing that won the day, it was continuous small wins. It was establishing and maintaining momentum. If you can do that and refine it and get better at it, you have a shot at transforming your company. And that, for me, is what overcame the opposition and the resistance and got us moving quickly to becoming an agile company. So I hope that story is helpful to you guys. You have a wonderful day in front of you today. We have topics on AI and big data, cloud economics, which is very important. We've started some work that I'm participating in with CFOs and helping your finance team understand the economics of cloud. Migration and enterprise workloads, there's security and compliance sessions. There are also industry trends and solutions, the digital innovation workshop that I mentioned, and then cultural and organizational change. So I hope you see that it's a wonderful agenda for you today, and thank you for your time and attention.